You learn a lot about yourself in recovery. You peel back the layers and you discover the deeper issues, and that's definitely one of mine is seeking attention, and especially from men. That's something that goes way back into my childhood. I had a really good childhood. I grew up in a very conservative Christian household. My parents were very loving. I was close with my mom and dad. Um, Very small town, Oklahoma. I had my daughter when I was really young. I was 15 when I had my daughter, Ashley, and after that, I moved with my husband and we got married. It was about a 10-hour drive away from where my parents lived. I remember crying because I missed my parents so much. I remember my dad crying. I didn't really have a childhood as far as an adolescence. So when I did drink and party, it was like I had to do everything like all the way, and be as irresponsible as I could when I had the chance, because I had to be responsible all the rest of the time. Very early on, I knew that there was trouble. I had blackouts. It just wasn't good for me from the start, but it didn't stop. It stopped me after my marriage fell apart. A lot of poor decisions, a lot of regret, a lot of waking up and not knowing what I did the night before, a lot of more drinking to forget what I did the night before. I was promiscuous. Definitely things a daughter shouldn't see of her mom. I think it was just seeking attention. I still struggle with that now. I've identified that in my recovery. I did get remarried, and then I had my first son. And then it became clear that I had some pretty significant clinical depression going on. And that marriage kind of started falling apart. And during that time, I found out I was pregnant with my second son. I just didn't really know what to do with myself. Like I said, I was struggling with mental illness at this point, and I was drinking a lot, still smoking marijuana, doing occasional party drugs, and then I was introduced to methamphetamines. It was just so dark. I realized how bad it had gotten after. It was probably about 2 years in. I mean, I would try to get better a little bit, but I really couldn't fight it. And I ended up giving custody up of my children, but it was just a matter of time till it would have been taken away from me. And that was the first time that I saw treatment. I was able to get clean, but I learned from this time around doing recovery that's all I did is just get off of drugs and alcohol. And it wasn't very long till I was pregnant again, number 4. But then there was alcohol and a man and a baby. my MO, my pattern. It was actually about 20 years before I made it back to treatment. The relationship was so controlling, so toxic. I could function fairly well with just the alcohol. I could maintain with just the alcohol, but he couldn't. It was awful. It was kind of a hell, actually. My drinking was bad too. I'm not trying to say his was any worse than mine, but I would be able somehow to control mine because I had to take care of him and my son. But it did get to a point that about 3 years before I sought treatment the second time around that I got back on meth. I was just so miserable. And but this time it was different in that I didn't party. I used it to function. It was a miserable wasting away. I believe that my higher power spoke to me and led the way for me to go to treatment. and just lifted my shame and put a feeling inside of me that said, it's okay. It's time to take care of you. Um, you're worth it. I knew I couldn't stay where I was. I had to go away, and I found a place in, of course, when they said it was in Cape Cod, I thought, well, that's pretty nice. And so I came out here and decided I don't know anything at all. And nothing that I have done has worked. And so I'm just going to quit thinking that I know and listen. And you walk into the door completely broken, and people literally wrap their arms around you and welcome you. And they're all just like you. They've all been there. They get you. They help you. And then once you're better, you do the same thing for somebody else. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Still, it's just a tiny beginning. You still have that little part of in you that wants to be resistant, but that starts to diminish, and it starts to get less and less, and you just start to be more open and more willing, and then it just gets to be natural to where you want it and you seek it, and then it's amazing. It's, it's just good.